Welcome to The Explainer. You know, when we think of Japan, we often picture serene temples, beautiful landscapes, maybe bustling, futuristic cities. But according to the sources we've been looking at, behind that image, a different kind of story is unfolding. It's an invisible crisis, a conflict being fought not with tanks and planes, but with keyboards, with money, and with narratives. Let's get into it.
Take a look at this number, 6,920,000. What do you think that is? Well, our sources tell us that's the number of cyber attacks Japan has to fend off every single day. Let that sink in. That's about 80 attacks every second. And the data points to the vast majority of these coming from just one place, China.
And that really gets to the heart of the problem, doesn't it? The material we've analyzed describes a new kind of conflict, one where the battle lines are completely blurred and the combatants are often anonymous. It's a challenge that basically forces us to rethink what national security even means in the 21st century.
So, to really understand this digital frontline, we first have to look at the strategy behind it all. Because according to our sources, this isn't just random chaos. Oh no, it's a very specific, highly developed theory that looks at conflict in a completely new way.
Okay, so here's the backstory. Our sources say that after the Gulf War, Chinese military thinkers watched the overwhelming power of the US military and basically concluded, we can't win a straight-up fight. So what do? Well, you change the rules of the game. Their answer was this concept, unrestricted warfare. It's essentially a playbook for how to defeat a stronger enemy by fighting a war without ever really firing a shot, aiming to make them crumble from the inside out.
And this is how that theory looks in the real world. You see, the sources argue that all these things we hear about, major data breaches, weird economic pressures, disinformation campaigns, they aren't separate, isolated problems. They're all different fronts in one single coordinated campaign. The battlefield is finance, it's the media, it's even the legal system. The goal is pretty straightforward: win without having to fight, and make it so your opponent only realizes they've lost when it's way too late.
But this invisible conflict, it's not just digital. As our sources describe it, it's also deeply psychological and very, very physical. It targets the very social fabric of Japan, everything from its diplomats to its actual land.
I mean, just look at this. This is a tweet from a top diplomat. One source presents this not as some random angry outburst, but as a calculated psychological move. It's pure intimidation, right? It's designed to scare people, to silence debate, and to project power, not through diplomacy, but through straight-up menace.
And here's another tool that our sources point to, something they call tributary diplomacy. Now, this might just look like a photo from a meeting, but it was all very carefully staged. The body language tells the whole story. One diplomat standing, hands in his pockets, gazing down. The other seated, looking up. It's all about projecting an image of dominance for the audience back home in China.
Now, this is a really interesting one because it shows how international platforms like the UN become a kind of battlefield. According to one source, by arguing that the people of Okinawa are a separate, oppressed group, the goal is to drive a wedge right into the heart of Japan. This kind of narrative tries to undermine Japan's claim to a really strategic area and create internal conflicts that can be exploited down the line.
The pressure also gets very physical. Our sources lay out a clear pattern of land purchases across Japan by entities with links to China. And these are not just random investments. We're talking about targeted buys of land with real strategic value. You know, plots of land that overlook military bases, forests that control critical water sources, and huge areas up in Hokkaido. The worry is that if a crisis ever hit, this land could be used for intelligence gathering or to disrupt key infrastructure.
All right, now we have to turn to what the sources identify as the most dangerous flashpoint in this whole invisible crisis. Because the future of Taiwan isn't just about Taiwan. It's the one thing that could turn this quiet, undeclared conflict into something very real and very hot for Japan. So to really get this, we need to understand this very specific legal phrase, a survival-threatening situation. This is the key that unlocks Japan's ability to use its military to defend an ally, something called collective self-defense. And it's a very, very high bar to clear. And that's by design, to limit when force can be used.
So these are the three hoops you have to jump through, legally speaking. So why is a fight over Taiwan such a big deal for Japan? Well, the sources argue that any attack on Taiwan would almost certainly include hitting the US military bases on Japanese soil, especially in Okinawa. An attack like that would be a direct threat to Japan's own security, and it could very well meet that first critical condition, pulling Japan into the fight.
Okay, so let's zoom out for a second. How do all these pieces fit together?
When you take the cyber attacks and the diplomatic pressure and the land purchases and you put them all on the table, our sources say a very clear picture starts to emerge. So the crucial point is this. What the sources are describing isn't one single threat. It's a coordinated campaign being fought on multiple fronts at the same time. You've got the digital front with millions of attacks a day. You've got the psychological front with these intimidation tactics. And you have the physical territorial front with these strategic land buys. Each one is meant to weaken and destabilize Japan from a different angle. So I think the biggest takeaway from all of this is that it really forces a shift in perspective.
The main conflict of our time might not start with a big declaration of war. Instead, it's this kind of persistent, simmering struggle that's fought across every part of a society. It's a war that, according to these sources, is already happening, whether we realize it or not.
And that really leaves us with a final, tough question to think about. When the battlefields are social media feeds and financial markets and public opinion, how does a country even begin to defend itself? And maybe more importantly, in this new age of unrestricted warfare, what does winning even look like?